All right, let's get started. Welcome to Rocky Mountain Tableau User Group Data Summit. Thank you for joining today virtually. And it's been almost, we are completing 8th year doing these Tableau data summits across the region. And we shared several hundred success stories, use cases from both private to public sector across the board. And today we have great speakers and presentations on Dish Network's Tableau success story. As you all know, Dish Network is building America's first smart software-defined 5G network, which will change the way the world communicates. Tableau has shaped Dish Network's data visualization strategy across the various business units for meaningful insights. So we have a great keynote speaker, Jamie Williams, Senior Vice President of IT Shared Services. As Senior Vice President, Jamie is responsible for Dish corporate IT systems, IT operations, international delivery teams, and the project management office. Before joining Dish, Jamie served as CIO for several organizations, including Coolsys, and he was responsible for stabilizing the IT systems and integrating more than 20 companies. And Jamie was first CIO of newly formed Altera Mountain Company, and he led unification of several acquired companies and launched a strategic new products. So, and before that also, Jamie was CIO for several other organizations. Please help me welcome Jamie Williams.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting me today. And Srini boss, thanks for the introduction and for the opportunity to speak today. Srini asked me to come and speak about data and analytics today to this group and at Dish. And let me share my presentation here. There you go. Everybody should be able to see that now, I hope. Srini, you can see okay?
Yes, we can see yours.
Great. So thanks again for the opportunity. As Srini mentioned, some of you that might know Dish as a satellite TV provider, we're doing much more than that now. And right on the title slide here, toward the bottom, you can see, Dish TV, as you would have traditionally thought of, Sling, a over-the-top streaming service for pay TV, OnTech, which is our in-home services technicians that install both Dish technology for satellite dishes and also many other technologies like Google Nest and other Google products. Our Dish Wireless, where we're building out the world's first 5G cloud native Open RAN network, and Boost Mobile are all Dish brands today. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Dish analytics, data and analytics at Dish as a whole, which is the company that I support that includes all of these different brands and all of these different businesses. It's quite a large and complex organization in that way. And, one of the things I say first about the topic of data and analytics is that really it comes in all shapes and sizes, right? So these terms I have found in the past can mean many different things to many different people, right? And that's kind of cool, but it's also can be hard to get your arms around sometimes. Exactly what are we talking about when we talk about data and analytics? And so today I wanted to highlight a few different things that to me fit into the realm of data and analytics, and a few different very specific use cases here at Dish. Where we're using data and analytics to power our business and to make our business great for our customers. So we'll talk about reporting, and reporting is kind of, in my mind, like what happened already, right? What happened yesterday? And I'll give you an example as we pull it up of a scorecard we use for our IHS business here on that. We'll talk about predictive analytics. Predictive analytics is not what's already happened, it's what's likely to happen, what's going to happen next, right? And I'll give you an example here from our pay TV package recommendation tool that we have in operation here at Dish. And then data monetization is also, a common activity that comes into the realm of discussion around data and analytics as a whole. We'll talk a little bit about that and how we're monetizing our data here at Dish through our media sales organization. Big data is, an often used phrase, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk about how telecom and media companies like Dish have really big data. And how we'll be using that in one use case here at Dish to optimize our tower build capital plan. And I'll also talk to you about automated decision making, right? So AI and the use of data in an AI world, and how here at Dish, we'll actually be building the self-healing 5G network, so that through AI and through the data and analytics that the AI has access to, it can heal and maintain the 5G network itself without a lot of human interaction. So those are really just a few of the use cases, but some ones that I decided to pull out today to highlight to you today some of the cool things going on at Dish in the realm of data and analytics overall. So let's start with reporting, right? Again, like I said, reporting is what's happened already. This might be about yesterday's sales. It might be about this quarter's financials. It might be last month's open and filled job recs. It could be anything, but the key here when we talk reporting, at least in the way I talk about it, is reporting is about something that already happened, right? Now we have, as you can imagine, tons of reporting at Dish. In fact, we've got over 3,500 different Tableau reports and dashboard. And they cover the gambit from, financial data, sales data, HR and employee data, IT operational data, all kinds of things across the entire company are powered by Tableau's reporting and dashboards. Just one example of that is what I've pulled forward here for us, which is used in our in-home services business. So we've got about 3,000 technicians, right? Guys in trucks that drive around the whole US doing installation jobs at people's houses, right? Sometimes they're installing a Dish satellite and satellite TV for our pay TV service. Sometimes this group of IHS in-home technicians is actually taking jobs sent to us from Google, for example, to install a Nest thermostat inside of a house. Or a door lock, or one of those other kind of in-home connected devices. And there's many other, third-party installation type jobs that we do for in-home equipment out there. So these 3,000 technicians at Dish, in order to properly manage these guys, the management of our in-home services business really relies on this daily scorecard. There's 5 different data sources that come together every night through batch processing. You can see a few of the examples that I called out here, but one of the key things is customer satisfaction data is part of this, right? So, after every install job, a survey goes out to the customers that receive those install jobs. They provide data as part of that survey that then gets bubbled up and surfaced through this dashboard. And it's one of the ways that our management of these 3,000 in-home services technicians can tell whether these guys are doing a good job or a bad job, whether they're leaving the customers satisfied or whether they tracked mud through the floor in the customer's house, which is something, of course, we don't want to have. So this is one of the reasons why this dashboard reporting is really key for running that business on a daily basis, helping our managers understand, what our technicians have been able to accomplish and whether they're doing a good job or not. Moving on to sort of the next use case here, predictive analytics. Again, like I said, predictive analytics is really, it's about something that's likely to happen, something that hasn't happened already, right? It's about predicting some event in the future. That could be future sales, could be future revenue, could be future customer actions or behaviors. And a lot of work in the predictive analytics realm in I'd say the last several years has been focused on predicting future customer actions and future customer behaviors, right? So we have a lot of different business activities here at Dish, that we try to predict what's going to happen in the future. As you can imagine, everything from financial metrics to some of those customer behaviors to sales metrics and things like that. And for each sort of predictive analytic that we are working on, there's some sort of a model that takes some inputs and through a model that we've built determines or forecasts what that's going to be predicted is the outcome in the future. So here, the example that I pulled out that I want to talk just a minute about was in our pay TV business, right? So on Dish satellite television product, we have deployed predictive analytics to help our sales agents recommend the best TV package for customers that call in the middle of the sales process, right? So we've built and trained a model over time that takes in all kinds of different data inputs, including customer demographics, like age and income level if we have that, or what zip code you're in, or any of those kind of demographic information. We put that together with all of the other known information we have about those customers. And when they're calling into sales, the recommendation engine, the predictive analytics that is part of the recommendation engine will actually prompt our sales associate that's on the phone to provide what it predicts is the best optimal package recommendation for that customer, right? To maximize revenue and also provide a product that meets the customer's needs as best as possible. So we've launched this one recently and have seen actually an uptick in customer take rate for packages where the predictive analytics have been deployed in a way that seems to be working well. And so that's one powerful use case for the concept of predictive analytics. The next thing I'll talk about for a minute is data monetization, right? So what is this? This is making money from your data. How to enable strategies where you can earn direct revenue from your data, right? And companies like Dish have a lot of data that when you put it together in the right way, you can unlock some of its value. It can be useful both in direct businesses and in potentially monetization strategies that involve selling data to other businesses. So one example here at Dish that I want to talk about for a few minutes on data monetization is related to our media sales and advertising business, right? So we have a certain amount of what advertisers call inventory, right? Advertising inventory, slots for commercials to be run on our products like Dish Television and Sling, and in future potentially on wireless products in our wireless side of the business too, right? Well, the way advertising works is the more specific you can be about who your advertisements, your ad inventory is targeted toward, what customers are going to watch that ad, what their take rate is going to be, how what their income levels are, how willing are they to make purchases. The more information that you have about your audience when you have a piece of ad inventory, the more advertisers are willing to pay for that. So one of the things we've done here at Dish is we've created what we call the identity graph that brings together 8 different data sources with many, many different data elements about all of our customers and uses pretty complex logic to map all of these together to understand which customers are associated with which ad inventory we have available, right? So that we can look at that and share that information along with our advertising inventory out to potential advertisers and maximize the amount of money per advertising slot that we get. It's all about knowing our customers better and being able to attach that to the ad inventory slots that we have available to share. So that's a pretty cool use of the data monetization sort of track here in data and analytics. And next, I wanted to talk a minute about big data, right? So big data is a really common phrase. In fact, it's a phrase I put in my dirty word list because, again, it means many different things to many different people. I can tell you, I've talked to a lot of people before in the past that think that they have big data, but telco and media companies actually have big data. And I mean by that machine generated data mostly, for millions of subscribers. Here at Dish, we're talking about machine generated data that tells us what they're watching on TV, what phone calls they make on the wireless network, where their text messages are going, all these kinds of things, literally billions of rows per day, right? That's big data. Big data doesn't come from your sales transactions. It doesn't come from, small data sources. To really be big data, you got to be in the billions and talking about a high speed and high rate of flow of data that's coming in. So for us, we have access to all of that big data coming off of our networks, coming off of our products, and off of our millions of subscribers that are using those products today. Now, what do you do with it is the question, right? How do you correlate it? How do you analyze it? What do you store? What do you analyze in streaming in real time and what do you throw away? How do you make it useful ultimately for the business? So one key use case for big data here at Dish, now that we are building out the world's first 5G Open RAN cloud native network, is that we have the opportunity to really optimize our tower build of our 5G towers, right? We're going to cover the US with, 25,000, 30,000 wireless towers. And how do we put them in the right place to maximize the return on investment that goes with building out those towers? So we're going to spend billions of dollars building out that wireless network across the country. And for any of you like me that have driven across many of the states in the United States, you know that there are places with very high densities of population, and then there are places where nobody lives or almost nobody lives, right? This is one input to how to build out an effective wireless network. But also, because we have roaming agreements with some of the other networks, AT&T and T-Mobile, we can be really strategic and really targeted about where we put our capital investment. Where we're going to have a high volume of users, or where we have a high volume of users today that might be roaming on somebody else's network, and it might make the business case for implementing our own tower there be a very viable business case. So taking in all of this network data about our cellular network today, about our customers that are using that today, bringing that together again with other demographic data, other data about even tower RF, radio frequency propagation models, and how much distance can I get from a tower if I build it there. Those things will all come together as we build out our model for optimizing our capital spend on the 5G network build across the country. So really cool kind of use case for us here at Dish, and really one that is going to truly steer billions of dollars of investment that the company is making now and over the course of the next several years. The last one that I wanted to hit on here is AI and automated decision making. And again, this is a terrific use case here at Dish, really related to our 5G network build out. So I've said it a couple of times, and if you ever hear our chairman Charlie Ergen talk about it, we really are doing something quite unique, which is building the world's first cloud native 5G Open RAN network here at Dish, right? That's different than every other wireless network that operates in the United States today, different than every other wireless network, frankly, that operates in the world. And one of the things that's really cool about building a cloud native network is, a lot of the components that run the network, all of the computing and storage components that actually run critical network functions are all virtualized. They're all running in AWS. So yes, there is a physical tower there, along the side of the highway. It's got radios sitting off of it that communicates to your cell phone. But instead of having a whole bunch of compute and storage solutions in a little closet at the base of the tower, we've virtualized a lot of that into the cloud. And what that gives us the ability to do, as you know, in the cloud, is run that infrastructure with code, right? So here, the use case in data and analytics and as applied to artificial intelligence is we will actually train models and train the AI to run our network for us and give over, in a lot of ways, the keys to operations for that network, so that if a particular tower or segment or node on the network needs to expand its capacity beyond what it's currently at because it's starting to experience high utilization, the AI will be able to provision that additional capacity into the cloud that can power that site and power increased usage at that site or in that segment of the network. If the AI starts to see signals about failures or degradation in parts of the network, it will be able to take automated action to restart services or provision new services or allocate additional resources to that area of the network to support the customers there, and do all of that in real time, right? So I've been with wireless companies for going on 25 years in my career. And the way the other guys do this is they've got a big room full of people that look for alarms coming off of the network. And those people decide what actions to take. And it takes them time, and they don't always follow the right procedures. And people are expensive to have if you have a lot of people in your NOC managing your network. So the AI use case here in the 5G network for us at DISH is a really powerful differentiator for the wireless network that we're building. It's going to allow us to operate with higher quality levels and with a better level of cost efficiency than any of our competitors and the wireless networks that they have in the US. And that's all because data and analytics will provide the right level of information to the AI algorithms to be able to do the right things at the right times. Now, I got one last slide here, which I apologize. Well, I don't apologize, but it's a bit of commercial. It is come work at DISH. We are doing some amazing things. Some of the use cases I just highlighted for you now, but across all areas of data and analytics, be it reporting, be it predictive analytics, be it big data or AI, and we are hiring. We are hiring as many people as we can get our hands on that are quality, skilled, energetic, and adventurous individuals. We're hiring for report developers, data scientists, data engineers, data product owners. If you're interested, you can go to careers.dish.com, or you can send your resume directly to me, jamiej.williams@dish.com. Would love to have you join the team, and thanks for your time today. And thanks, Srini, for giving me some time with this audience.
Thank you, Jamie. That's really wonderful. And in fact, there are a couple of questions, and I want to address one thing too. One of our goal for Rocky Mountain Tableau user group is to promote the local companies. And it's nothing, it's not sales or anything, but we have done with the universities in Colorado too. Like we did data summit at DU and CU Boulder and all. So our goal is to tap the local talent and join to these great companies like DISH locally. So I am sure there will be a lot of people who will be interested. So
well, thanks for that. So I don't have to apologize for my shameless commercial on the last slide here. Then.
No, that's
good deal.
That's our goal too. So there are a couple of questions, Jamie, for you. So
Yeah.
you talked about predictive analytics and AI, right? So somebody asked, like, what technologies you are using and what software you're using to make this happen?
Well, in the area of predictive analytics and AI, one of the big products that we've started using is Data IQ. If you've heard of this one that's out there, and probably many others. I don't know, Rani, if there are others you want to mention.
Yeah, we use
as well.
Databricks, and that's where we are trying to move from there to Data IQ.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's pretty exciting. And everybody's keep hearing about 5G, how Dish is going to make a huge impact in the 5G space. And I'm sure with all your vision and technology roadmap, I'm sure data analytics is going to make huge difference in making data-driven organization as well as the decisions. Thank you, Jamie. And let me see if anybody else have any questions. We had some glitch with logging to the webinar. One of the things changed from last data summit to this time is Salesforce. After Tableau got acquired with Salesforce, you have to log into Zoom account to see the webinar. Although webinars you can see it without logging in prior to that. So I think there might be some issues for people joining in. So hope that is resolved. But thanks for taking time, Jamie. Really appreciate you coming to us and presenting this keynote speech. And it's been pretty exciting. I've been working with Dish, and it's very exciting to see how they have grown. So let's move to the next speaker. Next speaker is Rani Nair, who is the Director of Data Management and Business Intelligence at Dish Network. Just got to know her only a few months before, and she's a great technology leader. She leads a team of data architects, engineers, and administrators delivering data and BI solutions across the Dish enterprise. In her previous role, she oversaw the migration of business dashboards and reports from on-prem to cloud and cloud-based BI tools. Please help me welcome Rani.
Thank you, Srini. And I'm so glad I can be a part of this webinar. My focus today will be on our Tableau side of our BI tools. Jamie talked about how we have various business intelligence, what we do here, and Tableau is one of the central piece to our business intelligence. And I've been here at Dish 14 years, and I've seen the evolution of our BI tools. So I'd just like to share a little history about that. So if you know, I don't know how many of you know Hyperion. Hyperion was a tool that was used quite a long time back, and it's still in use. But Hyperion was a tool that was mainly for scheduled batch reporting, and where there was any manual reporting. Though we could have some self-service on it, it was very tedious to build. And as the data landscape changed and the analytics in an organization changed, we were out looking out for tools that would help with our self-service. And in 2008, we onboarded Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, shortly called OBIEE. This tool was a first step towards self-service, and it had very cool features. But one of the things that was not very user-friendly was that it was very IT-centric, in the sense that you needed a semantic layer between the database and the user interface to be able to have your self-service. So it took time to market, and no changes couldn't be made quickly. You had to rely on an IT resource, and IT resources are always in a crunch. So though we onboarded OBIE and a few teams embraced it and started using it, it did not get widespread adoption. And then I think in 2011, Tableau started making a move, and there were people who, in the business teams itself, who approached us and say, hey, there is this new tool. Can we look at Tableau and see if this is something we can use in our organization? So we did a POC, and then in 2011, we implemented it. We started with 16 cores, And since then, we have grown in leaps and bounds, and we have about 6,000 plus active users now, and 22 users that have been, or 27,000 users that have been onboarded onto Tableau. Today, we are on version 2021 1.18. So my focus will be on our Tableau installation and what we are doing to make sure that we support our business partners in how in using Tableau. So this is our current topology today. We have a 4-node cluster, 52 cores, 988 GB RAM, and 4.5 terabytes of storage. And they are spread across a principal node, 2 worker nodes, primary node, worker nodes, and backgrounders. So as a big user of Tableau, we have a premium support with Tableau. So every year we go through a deployment review. And when we do the deployment review, we get a report on how we are doing in our Tableau installation. So there were some findings that came by that was something that we had to put our thoughts into. We have 12 backgrounders and 6 vSQL servers. We have a single client file service, single Elastic servers, and no redundancy for our backgrounders. And Tableau provides some recommendations that we had to take a look at. In addition to this recommendations, there are a few dashboards that I'll share that has been valuable to us in evaluating how we need to manage our Tableau resources. So this is a view of our backgrounder utilization. And as you know, backgrounder is where all the heavy lifting happens on the Tableau server. So this was constantly at a 72% utilization. And it was not a very ideal situation. In addition, we had about 2,400 events that were happening on the backgrounder, and about 13% of those that were using the backgrounders had no activity in the past 90 days. So there were some activities that really shouldn't be going on the Tableau server. And then when we looked at what was the background job delays, we saw that there were a delay of about 69 minutes to ranging to 146 minutes. And these happened during the peak hours of 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. when there were a lot of users on the dashboard. So we were constantly receiving, complaints that, Tableau server is sluggish, it is slow. What can we do to help resolve this issue? And when we see that an infrastructure is running slow, the first reaction is to say, let us add more resources to this and beef it up. But infrastructure comes with cost, and we have to be very judicious at how we spend the money. So what we were thinking is, are we really doing everything we can to show that our systems are running optimally before we ask for more resources? So the first course of action for us was to put best practices into place. We did not have a robust best practices in place. So, Tableau is a community of users. One cannot survive without the other. And as IT, from the IT support team, we had to let our users know that, hey, we are going to put some best practices. And as a first step, the first thing we did was send an email to all our site administrators and said, hey, team, you might see some emails from us going forward. We are trying to see what we can help or do to make sure our Tableau instance is optimized and running at its peak capacity or best capacity. And one thing when we looked at it is we saw, there might have been some sites that were not required. So our first step was to do away with some easy wins, get some easy wins, and we did some site cleanup. Then we looked at our site administrators, and we had about 400 site administrators across 50 sites. And that is about an average of 8. So do we really need that many site administrators on a site? So we reached out to the site administrators of each site. And very quickly, we were able to clean that up and bring it down to about 150 to 200 site administrators. So those were quick wins we could get. Then the other is we had many content and subscriptions that were under unlicensed users. We removed that as well. We are still working on it, but we have removed most of it. Then the other thing we looked at was, okay, are the dashboards and extracts optimal? What can we do to look at that? So we looked at dashboards and we looked at anything that was not used in the last 60 days. And we asked, do we really need this? We asked the question to everybody, including us. We, as a Dish team, IT team, we have our own site as well. And we looked at ours as well and found that there were many things that we could do to clean up the dashboard. So we cleaned up unused dashboards. And extracts, what we found out that there were extracts that were, running full extracts every day. and there could be millions of records. And this was slowing down the system as well. So we worked with the teams to see if we could convert full extracts into incremental extracts, and looked at optimizing the the workbook so that we were bringing in only the columns that was necessary. We did not have too many parameters in the query and such. We also set up a daily long-running jobs dashboard that we sent out to all the site admins every day. And this gave an opportunity for the site administrators to look at it and say, hey, we have some jobs on our site that is really long running that may be contributing to some of the slowness. And this helped them clean it up. So it's about giving them a visual cue of where we should tackle or where we should put our resources in. We also set up a weekly site admin sync up meeting so we could get everybody in the group and make sure that we were talking to each other and helping out each other when questions arise and having a forum to answer each one's questions. In addition, we have a chat group for weekly site admin, and I must say, I'm so happy to see the conversations that go on in that chat, because it's each one helping the other, and that is how, as a community, we can grow and improve what we are doing. So we put this in place about a month and a half ago, and now I want to walk you through of some of the improvements that we have seen in this area. So once we cleaned up our extracts and refreshes and all that, we had about 4,500, close to 4,200 extracts on the backgrounder. And once we cleaned that up, it dropped down to about 3,200. So we have a big win there. And as you see, there are failures that we encounter every day. And there are some blips here, but I don't worry about those. Those are associated with when we do patches, or when we bring down the servers for patches or upgrades or things like that. So that is not of concern. But doing that, we've brought down the number of activities on the backgrounder, and the failures we had approximately average of 140 jobs fail every day. And that we brought down from 140 to 40. And this is a work in progress. And we want to bring it to as low as possible so we can improve our backgrounder capacity. In addition to that, this is a view of what was prior to this is from the May deployment review we did, and this is after we implemented our best practices of what we are seeing today on the Tableau server. So as you see, the total number of active users has increased from 6,200 to 6,400, and the number of sites are slowly again increasing. The active projects have increased, and then the active data sources have increased. In spite of that, if you look at the number of events on the backgrounder, what you'll see that it is it was steady at about 14K prior to that, but now it is down to 11K, and it's keeping steady at that level. Then looking at the data source activity, as you say, the active data sources has increased, but back then it was at the events data source activities ranged from 100K, and it was steady at that, but now it is much lower than that. Sorry, my mouse is very sensitive. And it has dropped from about 90K to about 40K. And if you look at how the graph, where there is a peak at 9 a.m. in the morning when everybody starts using it, and then the data source activity drops down in time. So this is an improvement solely made by us looking at our backgrounder activity, looking at data extracts and refreshes, and removing unused dashboards. We have not done anything else to make this improvement. This is also a view of our backgrounder capacity before and after. If you see this, we were at about 90K. This is also a forecast. So we've been ranging from 90K to 92K, 95K previously. And the forecast was that we would be steady at around 90K. But after this activity was done, the number of events have dropped, and we are down to about 55K as our forecast of the server, the backgrounder activities. But I would like to bring your attention to small things that were pointed out from the deployment review. It says that we have among our 12 backgrounder processes, it is utilized 107.48%. And the recommendation was that we have 17 backgrounder processes instead of the 12 we have today. And that didn't change much from the previous to now, because it still says that we need 17 backgrounders. So we were thinking, okay, we have all these, we have made all these changes. Now, what more can we do to make sure that we are making improvements? So we decided to look at the infrastructure itself and see if we have it in the most optimized manner. So what we have done today is we looked at all the processes and we found out, and this is how we are set up today. We have 18 CPUs on the WhiskQL 1 and 18 on WhiskQL 2 and 16 CPUs on the backgrounder, adding it up to the 52 core that I had mentioned in the earlier in the first part of my presentation. So when we looked at it, our WhiskQL processes were underutilized, but our backgrounders were overutilized. So what we are planning to do, and this we have done on our test servers, and we are still in the testing phase. But so we removed 2 CPUs from each of those WhiskQL servers, which makes it 4 CPUs. Sorry, not the WhiskQL servers. We took 2 CPUs each from each of them. So we have 4 additional CPUs now. We assigned that to the backgrounder, making it 20. And to bring redundancy and high availability, what we did is we are introducing 1 more server to the cluster as a backgrounder and splitting those CPUs, 20 CPUs between 10 and 10 CPUs. So we have not completely finished doing this. We still have to do a lot of testing, and that is on our roadmap next. And this brings me to the roadmap that we have for our Tableau instance. So we have to monitor the performance after the node addition, which we think is going to bring a positive impact into how the performance of the server performance. Then our next plan is to upgrade Tableau to version 2022.1. And then implement a disaster recovery environment. So one of the difficulties we face today is that our server instance, though it has the same test server instance has the same configuration as prod, we don't have all the same connectivities that we have in production. So it becomes very difficult when we have to do patching and upgrading, not patching, so upgrade, and where we don't have a one-to-one environment to test the upgrade. So what we're planning to do is implement a disaster recovery on production server itself, which will be a replica of the newly designed infrastructure. And we can do like as we do upgrade on one, we'll keep the old one in the old version. And then we'll switch users. Once testing is complete, we will just switch users to the new environment. So that way we have 2 environments simultaneously in production that will help us in testing and implementing changes easily. We are also looking at moving our infrastructure, which is on-premise now, to the cloud by the end of next year or early 2025. This brings me to the close of my presentation, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Rani. That's great to see so much improvement with your Tableau Enterprise. We see so many different implementations across the board. Dish is considered a large implementation, and within months, how you have helped the organization improve so much. And like you said, the Tableau community is very energized now, and you have seen the chats going on, like they're sharing the knowledge, and it's just it's good to see ROI on your investment, right? So before you proceed for additional investment, I am glad things have worked out that way. So there are a couple of questions I think on the chat related to error messages on failed extracts. Rani, and I think if your team is joined, so what are the most common reasons for these errors and how they have gone down?
Some of them were connectivity errors, right? So there were some connectivities made to databases that probably were no longer in existence and things like that. So those were one errors. And then there were errors related to credentials. The wrong credentials were used, so they were erroring out. And this was mostly people who had built something but may not no longer have been here. So those were some errors also we were seeing. So cleaning up all those has really helped us improve that and reduce the error rates. There are other, but I can't, on the top of my head, I can't remember what all those errors were, but mostly it was credentials that were not set right.
Okay. And, you're in charge of BI and analytics, right, Rani? So do you say like Tableau is the main enterprise tool for your dish network? And Jamie talked about like multiple tools, the new technologies. So how do you see yourself with Tableau?
Yeah, Tableau is our main BI tool. Like I said, it is embraced by the community here in Dish, and it has, and we see that there are features being added that is very valuable to users from time to time. So I don't see a reason why we need to move out of Tableau anytime soon, and I think it is here to stay.
Great, great, thank you. And I think no more questions. So thanks again for your time. Really appreciate for coming and talking to us. So let's just move to the next topic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rani, again.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to present and just run, I think. So let me just share my screen. 1 second. Oh, I think there is technical issue. 1 second.
We're seeing your Gmail.
Oh, yeah. Let me just stop it. Sorry about that. So let's just get started. All right. So when we see when we see large implementations and medium implementation, like I have mentioned before, we have seen so many success stories and use cases across the board. Dish is one of the large implementations, and I have implemented and architected one of the largest one in the world too. So, what are the typical? How do you need to reinvent? Some after like you've been there for a long time, then what are the typical challenges on the existing enterprise implementation? What is our approach in resolving these issues? And some of the Dish success story is our case study too. So you can see the things that Rani talked about, how we have improved in last couple of months. So usually when I go to a big enterprise implementation, there you see performance issues and background jobs are getting cured, and stabilization issues like how Rani showed, and sometimes dashboards are taking longer to load, and sites are overutilizing. It's just like she mentioned, it's a community of resources, right? But some sites are overutilizing and some sites are underutilizing, and existing tug, if you have been there for 10 years, you definitely, usually Tableau promotes tugs, right? You lose interest and they get passed, and because of the COVID and all that good stuff. So So in first question I get asked is, oh, is do we invest more in Tableau, and is this like, what is our ROI? And I keep on, whenever I go and help the organizations, just like it's the same question. So typically I say, hey, give us like few weeks to a couple of months, then you can see the whole how we can turn around your investment, right? So sometimes it is not just investing in software and hardware, it's the people you have invested, like you have the knowledge base, right? So that's where I'll talk about like how we have turned around. So typically when you have an implementation, you just see how you just analyze the existing architecture, like both software and hardware, right? And Tableau premium support is really helpful, and you can see how they have like a detailed, and most of whoever uses the premium support deployment review, where it's a detailed description of like where the resources are going, how your overall implementation is doing, right? So then we'll talk about best practices and how we can better balance of the resources. Like Rani has mentioned, like dashboard consolidation, cleanup, and and optimization, the data source optimization. So when typically when you look at it, before we invest more, and we work very closely with Tableau TAM and Tableau customer account executive, like in this case Dish Network, for Dish Network, CJ and Sebastian, and also Tim is going to talk after my presentation. But we are a team, like we bring holistic view of what's the overall picture. So based on deployment review, and then looked at Tableau architecture. So not only just architecture includes software and hardware, right? So that's where you can see, and this is Dish deployment, and Rani showed it to you, right? So here you can see in this particular case, it's like vSQLs are more allocated but underutilized. So that's where we kind of rebalanced, and also looked at, okay, it's like you need to have a failover, and based on deployment review, you need to have 8 more backgrounder cores, right? So that's where we just kind of balanced it out, and all we Dish had to invest is more, like few virtual servers, but at the same time bring lot of throughput with the existing architecture itself. So that's where we did, and we increase not only the rebalancing of the software, but also hardware. If you see RAM is also increased. So like that, it's just like how you can best utilize based on the current configuration. Before, definitely, you have to be future ready too, right? So Dish is growing exponentially. So before you put more cores and more this thing, then you create your footprint in an optimal way, then the replication becomes pretty easy. So like Rani mentioned, like some of the things that I always talk about is how we communicate to the users easily. So if you and she mentioned about like how they have consolidated site admins. So site admins and sites, right? So when the site admins for each individual sites, in this case, Dish had like around 50 and more than 400 site admins. So they are the gateway to communicate to their users. They know their data better. They know their dashboards better, right? So when we like Tableau architects or Tableau admins, when they come, like, how do we quickly communicate to the end users? So that's where we usually I recommend just like doing the consolidation, and then it becomes pretty easy to communicate. Then any outages or anything that we need to work, then it becomes more easy. So that's one of the things we did. And then a lot of things is like reducing the footprint too. We have Dish has great team of Tableau admins like George, Krishna, and new edition Bina. So they have been doing a really good job of with Rani's leadership. They like keeping it really clean. So the footprint has overall footprint has reduced. Like cleanup has done pretty good. That way, your backups are pretty optimal. So the other thing, this is really good based on our what I have seen over last several years, and what makes optimally utilize server resources. It's community of resources, right? That's where I tell, like, if you are from California, and there are areas in California where you have only the water shortage, right? So if somebody utilizes more water, then others have to figure out, hey man, how do I get my water resources? It's the same thing. Like when you go with Tableau, these server resources are also in the similar way. Like, so when we fine tune, we every day we started promoting the dashboards, right? So then some of the stuff, when we brought the awareness to the site admins, then started looking at, oh, I don't need to run this job during the peak time. And they said, okay, let me keep this job during like off-peak time, like in the nights or early morning. That freed up our server resources pretty optimally. And then that's where you have seen some of the metrics that Rani mentioned about. So and data source optimization too. Like the other thing we look at is, like she mentioned about, like when you have implementation size of dish network, you will have like several different ones, right? Data source AWS to big, not sure if it is BigQuery here, but Snowflake, Oracle, SQL Server. It's like you can name it. So when you do it, then data source optimization is really critical. Then you just need to just say, hey, why do you want to bring full load every day, incremental versus full load? And one case study, the other case study we did at Dish is like from hours to we changed the data refresh from hours to seconds. So that kind of the performance improvement you can see when you start thinking holistically. So that's one of the key things I can mention. And other thing, see, most of the in implementation that I see right nowadays is like your production data is pretty latest, right? So when the creators, when they start implementing dashboard, they want to see the direct connection to production data sources, and then do the development. So you are you're having folders in production where your deployment is like, okay, moving from non-prod folder to production folder, but it's happening on the same production environment. So you are utilizing production resources while doing the development too. So what I would recommend is, that's where the DR and other environments that Rani talked about here, they are going to make a big impact, where you can get more, like all the pre-work done in non-prod environments, and moving into production becomes seamless. So that's other, and like she mentioned, performance improvement is like I said, Tableau deployment reviews are really critical. Sometimes you get overwhelmed with the amount of information that is available there. But you can just look at the nuggets. So, okay, so backgrounders, users, and how it is all progressing. So then you can put your energies in the right areas, so that you can have overall improvement of your enterprise. So we did like before and after, like Rani mentioned. It's just like, and it's this is one of the metric that Rani mentioned. It's like 83% increase in job completion, and the background capacity trend she talked about, like how it improved overall. And then some of the errors jobs that went up, because we were going between incremental and just like looking at the overall. So just even before, like this is the another, like how it has progressed with this all you get it from deployment review, right? So, and some of the way like these are some of these things are custom reports. We have to do it because Tableau out of box the site admin dashboards, they are not in detailed enough. So this is one of the dish site admin there. I forgot the name of this gentleman, but he has developed this dashboard to see how the waiting of jobs to be completed during a peak time. So that got improved big time when we changed our overall job run schedule. So overall, you see great improvements with Tableau Enterprise, and as well as the other key thing is your organizational tug, right? So it's sometimes it becomes like you have your own priorities and deliverables within. So doing this Tableau user group is like it takes a lot of effort. And personally, I know you think everything is covered, then we have one issue with links and not working. So it's kind of pretty anxious sometimes to the things don't. So keeping up with the user group, energizing it, where they share the knowledge, that's the key. When somebody asks a question, hey, how do I do this, these parameters, or so when you share your knowledge, then it's caring. So that's what Rani mentioned, right? Like right now it's a huge user group. Every day you see so many posts like, hey, how do I do that, and somebody is jumping onto it. That brings lot of knowledge sharing, and it keeps the user group going too. And sometimes I mentioned there are so many technology. We work with public sector too, and you see so many. It's like Tableau is not the only tool, but but when we see you have people who can support your core system, then it becomes, your service becomes more valuable. And it's not just investing in Tableau software or hardware, but investing in Tableau team, like user groups and training and all that really makes a huge difference. Because if some business critical KPI or you need to deliver, then you have the team to support pretty quickly, right? So that's what I would highly recommend, keeping the re-energizing the Tableau user group is really key. So in conclusion, what we say is, it's maintaining a Tableau enterprise environment is a holistic approach. It's just like not one-time deal. You have to keep up with these best practices, ongoing, and keeping up the discipline too. Sometimes it's like when you are doing something with the production data sources, you do something, but be mindful about you are impacting your other users too, and who you care about. So when you have that kind of mindset, then your Tableau environment become really optimal, and your any enterprise that it's a better ROI on your enterprise investment. And also, what we say is like, once you stabilize, once you this thing, then you look at the growth and say, hey, how do you add more cores, or just make it optimal, always like stay one step ahead. And we have done use cases like where like Tableau is part of Salesforce now with and Jamie talked about how predictive analytics and all. So we have seen so many different, and we have seen integration with Einstein analytics and all. So predictive analytics is like now part of Tableau offering, and then we have seen so many good use cases with public safety and other agencies like DOC looking into it. And so it's we are in the right technology roadmap. And like I said, keeping up the tug, energized, and okay, oops. Yeah, and it's been great journey. And with Dish success story in conclusion, man, it's like we really loved it in the leadership collaboration and how they want to just supportive of the new ideas is, and bringing everything, all these things together. Rani, Jamie, and there was another dude, Balram was there. And so all these things came together, and we are very happy to see this kind of success with Dish. Thanks again. And let me see if you have any questions.
Just one call out to Victor Wilcox, who was the individual who created that heat map on the backgrounder delays. So thank you, Victor.
Yep. Thank you, Victor. And that's why I just wanted to make sure I can mention, I forgot like, hey, Victor, they have great site admins with Dish, and I'm amazed like how they have grown their knowledge base over the years. So that's super thankful for sharing some of these knowledge. Great. Any other overall, it's been great journey for us, and thanks again. Thanks for giving the opportunity to work with the Dish team. Yep. All right, so let's just move on to the next speaker. And let me, one second. Oh. 1 second. Yep. So next speaker, Tim Nignish. I've known Tim for quite a long time, and that's where the user group keeps me connected with all the Tableau team. And Tim has over 25 years of BI experience. Currently a leader within customer success team at Tableau, and his main vested interest is how companies like Dish can succeed with their in Tableau investment, and how they can see the ROI. So he lives in Colorado, has been here from 1998, and he has worked with various Colorado companies and their BI and enterprise performance management needs. Please help me welcome Tim.
Yeah, thank you so much, Srinivas, and thanks everyone for hanging in there. So again, yeah, Tim Nicknish. I'm a senior manager of customer success here at Tableau. I've been here a little over 8.5 years now. It's been quite a journey, to say the least, and thanks to all of you, our customers. So do appreciate all that support. Wanted to speak today about what we call Tableau Blueprint. In summary, this is the recipe to success to go deploy Tableau at scale. Based on literally thousands of deployments that we've monitored and watched and helped throughout the years, we thought it'd be very helpful to come up with simply a blueprint on if you want to go create that, culture of self-service analytics out of curiosity, out of wandering, out of going asking the unknown questions, which is where Tableau truly excels and differentiates in the market space. Well, there is a recipe you could and should follow, and we refer to that as Tableau Blueprint. The reason we did this is it's hard. You know, a lot of companies today, they'll talk about data as the new oil. It is critical. Every company is a data company. It is literally mission critical now for organizations to succeed. But just having the data isn't going to be enough. To me, it's really about how do you enable the individual to give them the capability to go ask the question at any time, at any level, where they can go ask not only the first question, but many, many more questions to follow. I like to joke, I've never met a dashboard I like. I like to tear it apart and, you know, rebuild it and repurpose it for my own needs. And definitely one of the reasons why I fell in love with Tableau, because of that ability to do so. But again, in order to go create that data culture, it's really challenging. And, you know, a McKinsey study a few years back, you know, 92% fail to get the return out of their investment. So you're not alone. It is challenging. It's not a Tableau problem per se. It's more of how do you unleash the power of your data across your entire organization? And, you know, we feel Tableau could be a key component of that. But it is a journey. It is a work in process. And so really wanted to spend some time today on like, what does that 8% really know and understand as they go unleash that data culture? So wanted to just provide an overview of what we refer to as Tableau Blueprint. So first thing to remember is this is tailored by role. This is the blueprint. We kind of refer to it as the bus stops. But the idea is this is all publicly available on our website. Anyone can actually go take a blueprint assessment, as we call it. And what it'll do is essentially ask a series of questions by role. So if you're a server admin and you're focused on what we would call the agility track, which is keeping the server up and running and smooth, you know, you would only address questions in that area. If you're focused on proficiency and making sure people are trained to know how to leverage the most of the technology, you know, we'll address questions in those areas. But the idea is you can go through the assessment. It'll walk you through based on what your role and responsibility is. And then most importantly, at the end of it, give you the recommendations on what you could go do next. A lot of times I'll refer to it as building blocks. Like some organizations I'll come across, they will be absolutely crushing the proficiency and doing nothing around community. My recommendation is go build that 101 foundation across every little bus stop as we have on the screen here. And then that'll allow you to enhance and improve and move things forward. So as we get into the blueprint, the one thing I want to start on is very, very, very important, and also probably the most overlooked, is to start on that far left-hand side of the blueprint. And that's really to help understand what is your analytic strategy? What is the organization trying to move things forward with the use of data? Who are the exec sponsors who care about those big initiatives and how they understand data will help them achieve them? And who are the teams that are going to help support those? And then it's also very important to understand, okay, we've done this, we've been at it for a while, where are we actually making a difference? And to me, a lot of this, it starts from the top down. So it's very important to have folks like Jamie on the call earlier, like speaking someone from the business, and no offense to my IT folks in the audience, but the business are the people trying to solve the problems. IT's job is to deliver the data platform and the analytic platform in order to go address those business problems. So when you have leaders on the business kind of helping define that strategy, working obviously in cooperation with IT, it makes it very, very clear, because everything else I'm going to talk about should be in service of the analytic strategy that's been defined within the organization. So very, very critical. And I would also argue probably the most often overlooked, because people just say, oh, we love Tableau. I know it. I used it previously. Bring it in and I'll go create stuff. Well, that's all great. But if there's really no direction or North Star for what you're trying to move things along, it can get a bit chaotic. And you really want that centralized alignment coming from the top down. Once you have that, again, it's very important to go define those teams. And a lot of times, you know, I'm working with IT teams and they're like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I don't want you to do it either. This is a responsibility of the business to step up and say, just about every large organization will have these business liaisons who kind of bridge the gap between IT speak and business problems. Those are the people that are really key to making these deployments successful, because they understand the data, they understand the business challenge the business is trying to address, and they're technical enough to go speak to IT in order to make sure the data is coming across in a format that's useful and relevant and timely for their needs. That is where, we at Tableau like to work with those folks so we can go build out the rest of the blueprint talk track. So once you start with that strategy, you've got that clearly identified, again, driven and supported from the top down. I don't have much ask of executive sponsors, but I do have some, and it's always important to keep them involved in this entire journey along the way. So as we move forward, we'll get into what we call the agility track. This is typically very IT centric. The good news is Tableau now being acquired by Salesforce, and we move to be a true software as a service provider, Tableau Online, or now we call Tableau Cloud. This really helps us address a lot of these agility challenges. For most of our clients, especially in my space, in the enterprise space, they are still dealing with on-premise, where they're installing software, managing their own hardware, managing their own upgrades. Obviously, in a true SaaS application, that all goes away. Tableau Cloud has been around for years and is definitely going to be a go-forward starting point for Tableau, as we integrate more and more with Salesforce. That being said, as we still have some IT roles to take care of, and we really want to talk about how you get deployed, how you monitor, and then how do you maintain. So the initial deployment is just, a lot of the technical nuts and bolts. How many nodes? How big are those nodes? What type of network? What type of backbone? How quickly do they speak to one another? Are they in the same data center? Making sure a lot of those IT things are laid out, well organized. How many environments are you going to have? Test, dev, prod? Maybe you have hot availability and you need immediate hot failover capabilities. All that should be outlined and defined within the deployment. Once you're up and running in production, you're going to move into the monitoring stage. This is another classic example that I saw comparing to other kind of enterprise-wide deployments such as OBIE and others. IT will say, I've got 10,000 users, I've got 1,000 reports to serve them, I can tune the server, and I'm going to set it and forget it. Tableau, for better or worse, doesn't work that way. We want people to be curious. We want people to go blend data sources and to find new insights with data sources and access they never had before. However, if that's not properly maintained, as you saw in the presentation earlier, you can get a lot of poor performing servers. And when that happens, you're going to have people who get frustrated, who leave, and go, lo and behold, go find another BI solution that IT doesn't really want to go support. So the monitoring aspect is really making sure you've got good visibility to what's going on with the server. You're constantly monitoring that. And most importantly, trying to help people. There's some simple vizzes you can run. I like to call it what I call the popular kids. It's looking at the people who publish the most popular content, but it's also analyzing how responsive that content is. If you have a high usage dashboard that's slow, again, slow is always a relative term. Reports that used to take 3 minutes now take 45 seconds. Everyone's thrilled. However, I don't know anyone who doesn't want a report to come back instantaneous. So the ability to have that report respond as quick as possible is always critical. So it's always key for IT to be monitoring who are the people who are publishing that content. If it's slow, do they understand what's going on? Do they understand the basics of input output and just the limitations of database technology, et cetera? But again, it's one way for IT to help out and to identify those users and make sure they have the proper training to make sure the server is running as proficient as possible. The maintenance, like I said, a lot of this will go away if you move to cloud, but this really gets into upgrading patches and what I refer to as what is the SLA's, what is IT's service level agreement to the business? Tableau is now on a biannual basis for their server releases. I think a lot of IT people are probably happy. It used to be 4 times a year and made it very challenging to keep up. But there should be an agreement in place. Hey, IT, we know, or hey, business users, we know Tableau likes to, be very creative, come out with these new releases all the time. Here's our promise to you. Typically, it might be one major release behind schedule, but will always be within 6 months of the most recent release. Doesn't really matter what it is, but I do think it's important to state that and have that kind of relationship with the business so they know what to expect. I would also say SLAs on downtime. We're bringing the server down for an upgrade, or we had an outage. What is the expectation for the business to understand how quickly that'll be brought back up? So a lot of those are just some of the best practices when you get into the agility talk track. Proficiency is all about, okay, we have the data, we have the platform, we're ready to unleash this to all of our business users. But with a platform like Tableau that has unlimited capabilities to see and understand your data, it's really important that they know how to make the best use of that technology. And so this really gets into how well versed are my end users to leverage all the features and capabilities that Tableau provides. So this starts with your basic education, and then eventually measuring those folks, and then getting into what's the analytic best practices for your org. Education can be anything and everything from your onboarding process. Just a simple, I have so many people come in like, I don't even know what Tableau is, but I just got access. That's not a very good, a very positive onboarding experience. So a lot of times the education is just like, this is what it is. This is what it does. This is what it does not do. This is how it can help benefit you if this happens to be your use case. Those are some pretty basic 101 capabilities with an onboarding process. From there, it gets into fee or free. The most amazing thing about Tableau is if you go into Google or your favorite search engine, type in Tableau in the right keyword, I can almost guarantee you will find a partner, a advocate, a champion, a Zen master who has published stories, videos, sample workbooks on that particular topic. And you can go learn from the incredible community that is Tableau. So that's all the free world. We also have, I think, 200 videos up on our YouTube channel, on our website. We constantly run different sessions from our partners and from Tableau directly. I think every day of the week, from Makeover Monday to, Developer Thursday and Tableau Viz Challenge Tuesday, there's just an unlimited amount of education resources that are out there for free. But it's also important to actually have a few folks be dedicated and really learn all the ins and outs. So there's all sorts of measuring if a person's been through training and multiple levels of training, and also the certification. So we have, we've recently moved heavily towards e-learning, obviously with COVID, but also e-learning passes where you can just get a pass and it gives you unlimited access to all the training that's available under our e-learning platform. But I think it's important not only get those people trained so they can best leverage the technology, but again, those are the folks who can help spread the word and also the education and the skill sets that will allow you to be successful at scale. So it's not only educating them, but I'd also say leveraging them. And a lot of times when IT has that training budget, it's like, here's the deal, business. We're going to train select users from your BU, but here's our ask. We need them to go host sessions for the rest of their BU so we can make our group be more scalable with the limited resources they have in IT. And again, that goes back to that executive sponsorship we spoke about at the onset. And then eventually getting into analytic best practices. These will be customized by organization. It could be templates. It could be look and feel. It could be color palettes. It simply could be, are we going to allow you to download data to Excel? I have no problem with Excel as long as you download to Excel at the right point in your analytic journey. Should be at the very end where it's a very actionable list of items you need to go work on. That to me would be a very valid reason to go download to Excel. So simply turning off that feature probably isn't the best use of the technology either. However, you don't want it to become, I won't name the vendor, but I always call it the world's most expensive ETL tool, because the end users are like, this thing will give me data, but it doesn't give me the analytics I want. So they go run a report, dump it to Excel, pull it into Tableau, and begin their analytic journey. Probably not the most effective use of IT resources. So again, a lot of that just lends into what are the best analytic practices for your organization. So defining those, sharing those, enforcing those if need be, are all part about really nailing the proficiency talk track. Then we get into the broader community. And again, if anyone is, the fact that you're on this call speaks to that passion that exists in the Tableau community. If you've never been to Tableau conference, obviously COVID put a little dent in that, but it's coming back and coming back big. It's like no other. It's like going to a rock show. It was very bizarre for me to go to my first Tableau conference and see people hugging and crying when they finally met in person. But it is truly amazing. I spoke to earlier about our partner community and just the resources that are available from the broader community. And the goal and the challenge for you within your own organization is to really replicate that within your own walls. So this begins with communications, engagement, and support. I just went through an exercise actually with Dish, and they're revising their internal Tableau user group. And my first question is like, okay, what's your definition of user group? A lot of folks will focus on the creators or the old Tableau desktop folks. That's perfectly fine. It's going to be a subset of your broader user base, but probably an ideal place to start so we can start building best practices and the content that's pushed out to the server. But also don't forget, you have a wide plethora of users available on your server who have different capabilities and want and need those different capabilities, and you don't want to forget about them as well. So we mentioned earlier the site admin council. That's another great best practice. So it's really just about really segmenting who your audience is, making sure you've got timely and consistent communication to those audiences, and you're really just keeping them informed. New features, new capabilities, all those great things that are coming out as IT provides upgrades, or if you're leveraging Tableau Cloud, that come out automatically. So one is just keeping people informed, but again, keeping them informed about the right content. And that's where really that segmenting your audience becomes very important. And then you want them to engage. Again, I see this as absolutely critical to be driven by the business. Those senior VPs who are helping set the strategy should, one, be aware of all the analytic work that's helping support their initiatives. They should support. When someone says, well, I'm just an exec, what do you want from me? I want you to stand up at a user group meeting and do the introduction. Very similar to what Jamie did today, because I think it's very important to have your executives acknowledge the work that your analysts are doing. And it's a great way just to build excitement. Like, I want to get recognized by Jamie, so I want to make sure my analytic work is supporting his goals. And the more I can align to those, the more he'll care, the more he'll recognize my work. And that'll certainly be great for my career. And I would argue it's not a huge ask on Jamie's behalf to go do so. But that engagement is really bringing together those events. So everything from office hours to the Tableau user group communities. We typically will host and support Tableau events with customers, but it's really just about bringing people together, acknowledging the people who are doing great work, and helping leverage their skill sets as well. And then also, obviously, support. Where do people go? And a lot of times I see, oh, they route a request to IT. Well, IT is going to be able to help with, I can't access this database, or this join doesn't make sense, or, how do I join these two tables? But when it comes to actually asking the questions that can help move the business forward, we want that support to live in the business units. Like I said, those business liaisons are the people who can help by running office hours for their own business unit. We really want to see the hub and spoke where maybe the user group will teach these support people in the business units on how to go host an office hours, but then it's up to those folks to actually go execute those. But the idea is, no matter where your individual is in their journey, they know where to go to get help, and they're getting help from the right people who can provide the right type of context. So that really covers a lot of what we mean by community. So I mentioned all of this information is available on our website. So all you have to do is Google Tableau Blueprint. You'll find it right away. And what it'll do is walk you through what those are. If you go through the assessment, then what it's going to do is after the readout, it'll tell you exactly what we recommend for next steps. So the great part is, if you're well away on your journey, it'll only give you the relevant content for what that needs to look like, and all sorts of great content out there about building your community. So this is the user group leaders page, which is constantly updated with the latest and greatest information. It's who provides these Zoom links for leaders like Srini to go run for public-facing user groups. I got a screen blockage here. And then the last part, and it's kind of an overriding theme across every one of these bus stops, is the trusted and governed aspect. And so this is really the governance policies that you're going to put in place. And this is also extremely challenging. You become too governed, and you're going to become what I'd call one of the legacy BI tools, where it simply allows you to run reports, and that's the report you get, and it's over. If you don't like it, we'll download it to Excel and keep moving on. That's not what we want to do, but we also want to prevent the Wild Wild West from happening. So it's having that soft velvet touch hand that is guiding your end users, and understanding what are the roles and processes you're going to put in place. We typically break those out into data governance. So what data sources can I provide to my end users? Are they governed? Have they been cleaned up? Have they been possibly tuned for a feature like Ask Data, where I can use natural query language to go ask my own question? All that will work, but you need some sort of governance in order to make it work effectively. And then there's also content governance, which really gets you into more of like the content of Tableau, the workbooks, the stories, the individual sheets. What do those look like, and how are you going to govern and provide those recommendations? So it's one thing to go set the rules. It's another one to enforce them, but it's also, more importantly, when they're enforced, is to educate in the same manner, so the end users can learn and be better stewards of your environment. There's lots of different models when it comes to governance, if it's going to be centralized or delegated. Again, I would probably go for a blend. IT is going to be certainly governing certain aspects of the deployment, but once again, I need those business sponsors to come in and provide me folks who will provide the governance at the BU level. That unique combination is what truly makes these deployments evolve and grow over time. And I can't see, I see a couple questions in chat, but please interrupt, post a question, we'll be sure to address them. So that in a nutshell is the overall Tableau blueprint. Like I said, I can't stress it enough. The analytic strategy is the most important part. Everything else to the right is in service of that strategy. So if you don't have a good strategy, there's a good chance you may be successful, but you're going to probably have a lot more challenges that you deemed necessary. And I would also argue it's always great to have that executive visibility on your analytic work. If you don't, my question would be, why don't you? Because again, the whole purpose of having data is leveraging that across the organization as widely and as effectively as possible. And those executives should certainly care about how that's being done. This is if you work with Tableau, so what we can do, this is the results of multiple individuals within one organization taking the assessment and really kind of giving their perspective. So this can get really interesting and unique. You can see about 20 different responses were done in total across this particular entity. And then you can simply plot where you are. And we basically give you a maturity matrix of like how well evolved are you, not only in your capability, but also your commitment. So if you work with Tableau, we can provide this data back to you, can really create some interesting talk tracks. If you look at your proficiency capabilities, why does someone think they're at 100% and we've got a whole load of people underneath 25%? Someone got their hands on training and went and trained their folks, and so they're 100% capable. Other organizations probably weren't so lucky and they're feeling left out. So one, it can give you a lot of good, interesting stories and comparisons, and also just to see what do people really think of our deployment. And you can use this in a lot of different ways. I've seen this used successfully as a business case to go get help. Whether that help is more FTEs, maybe it's budget for training, maybe it's budget for someone like Srini to come in and help address some issues you found, but lots of different ways to use this information. So one, we encourage you to take the assessment, get multiple people coming at it from multiple different angles. Like we said, there's, if you own like the data culture, or if you own the agility or proficiency, they're all bucketed out. So the questions aren't overburdening unless you cover all of them. But we typically find the more responses you get, the more comprehensive results we can get and share back. And then once you're done, all the recommendations are tailored by those roles. So we'll give you step-by-step guidance, lots and lots of links to workbooks, to blogs, to other documentation that we provided that will really help you get on your way. It's like, I used to joke when I went into Teams accounts for the first time, I'd be like, hey, all I need is 2 years and a team of 5. And the classic line was, well, you get 1/3 of me. So not that I expect to get those full teams involved, but I think when IT thinks outside the box and goes and gets those business units to help out, it can certainly make things a lot easier. But going back to my point is there's a lot of things to be done if you want to go do it well. If you need additional assistance, again, a great partner community. We have our own professional services. If you ever wanted to speed it up by time or quality or quantity, those are always great times to consider bringing in a partner or services. So lots and lots of great recommendations will be coming out of that. So my ask of you is go ahead and get started. This is all available right here on this website. If you work with your account manager, they can work behind the scenes to get some of those fancy looking visualizations of the results. And we'd be more than happy to share it with you and then understand where you are in your journey, maybe set that baseline, and then more importantly, how do we enhance it from there? So quick question or a comment from Michael, which is one of the greatest challenges with executive sponsors is associated with literacy. Couldn't agree more. Data literacy is a whole nother talk track in this space around data and analytics and also Tableau, I would argue. And I think it's really important that they understand how their data works. At a high level, this is maybe why you can't get real-time analytics on the metric you're looking for, because this is some of the imaginations the data's got to flow through in order to get it prepped and embellished and enhanced for your analytic purposes. So just having some sit-down conversations like that, I think, is absolutely critical. But I think, too, the ask is, we need your help, executives. I want you to kick off my events. I want you to award coffee mugs and coffee breaks and free lunches to the analysts who are providing the most work that are helping you meet your initiatives. And my ask is document those. Because a lot of times where I'm talking to the IT teams and they're like, oh, we're the BI team, we support the platform. I'm like, great. How do you measure your success and your impact on the business? A lot of times they're like, I don't know, I don't. Or the number of users who use the platform. And I'm like, well, that's great, but I don't know how 1,000 users really moves the needle on what a company's trying to achieve. So the ask is get in line, get in sync with what those initiatives are, understand how your data and analytics can support those, and track it. Nothing better to come in and say, hey, SVP of sales, your days to close was 75 days. We've brought this analytics to your sales reps. They're now down to 32. That's an incredible performance enhancement, something you should be proud of, something we're proud of, and we want to recognize that, capture that, dialogue that, and make sure we've got an ongoing conversation to make it even better. So with that, again, I just wanted to kind of introduce the blueprint, encourage you all to go out there, learn some more, take the assessment if interested, and then work with your account manager. We'd be happy to share the results and what next steps might look like for you. With that, I'll open it up to further questions, or back to you, Srini.
Thank you, Tim. Like you said, blueprint is the key for all our success. And Tableau partners, Tableau account managers, and customer success, we all are team. That way, we can bring greater success to the Tableau investment and the Tableau customers. And over and over again, we have seen you have many BI tools, but by far, like how you have seen with Dish or Comcast or other local big companies that we have seen, Tableau is the prime visualization tool. And with Salesforce coming into Tableau under Salesforce umbrella, then it opened up a lot more avenues like predictive modeling, Einstein analytics, and all. So great. Thank you very much, Tim, for taking time for this presentation, and can't agree with you more on the Tableau blueprint.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, everyone.
Yep. And all right. So thanks again, everybody, for taking time to join Rocky Mountain Tableau user group. And like we said, we cater both private sector and public sector organizations, and we at least do one of each every year. So hoping 2023 we are going to have a lot of good use cases and success stories. And it's always good to see BI making a huge and analytics making huge impact on the organization. Have a great Thanksgiving, happy holidays, have a safe journeys if you are taking vacation and all. Thanks again. Thanks for joining. Thank you all.